We are back with another little episode here. We want to call it episode, whatever we want to call it. We want to go over some testing that we went over in fall here. So Matt has a bunch of results. We kind of shared a team, men's basketball, so that's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah, so let's go over some of the main results, A, and then B, like the system or method that we used for 8 weeks to get these results. Okay, and then you'll see there's an overarching theme. One of them for the speed was like we never pushed or extended. And then for the squatting, how that correlated to the jump testing as well. Okay, so it's an 8-week off-season program, 4 days a week. I mean, there are multiple days off within those 8 weeks.
Yep.
Some people don't understand. This is junior college. You're going to go in your head 8 times 4, that's 32. They had 32 sessions. Like a monkey can get results for 32 sessions. No. This is junior college. We had less than 28 sessions. We had a situation where half the team is riding the bus and commuting, and they have academic appointments, and they have this and that, and if anyone's sick on our college, they're not allowed to show up. So,
yeah, and I would even take that a step further. We got we'll call it maybe 50% of the team made it 90% of the time, right? So, we get more consistent results out of some of the more dedicated athletes, and that's just a common theme in junior college for sure.
Yeah, so we'll go over it. So I guess the reason I brought that up too is you'll see our numbers. We have more than 9 or 11 men's basketball players on the team, but we really had 15 to 16 trained with us, and then out of that was the consistent 10-ish to 11.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to show you the data here.
So, and as we're going through this, guys, structure today, we're kind of going to go through the results, what we did on paper, and then we're going to show you a few examples.
Okay, so we actually kept it very simple. We don't have advanced technologies, and my point is you do not need all these advanced technologies and metrics to see results and to prove to your coaching staff that you're worthy. Okay, so we had 8 weeks. Week 1, we didn't test anybody. There's a lot going on at a junior college if you've been at one for week number 1 in the fall. So we started week 2. So their linear speeds were over a 5 to 15 yard mark. They shoot in as fast as they can, so they get off the line as fast as they can for 15 yards. We only measure them from 5 to 15. We're using a free lap timing system. Don't have time to get into all the details on that aspect right now. You can DM us, right, or reach out to us. But we're looking at acceleration capabilities from 5 yards to 15 yards. Okay. With that being said, we got pre-testing data. Average team score 133. Right, week 8, 1, 2, 3. So we took a 10th off of the team as a whole. Some people had amazing results. If you've done this exactly, free lap, 5 to 15. Anything else is apples to oranges. Okay, you got to use the same timing systems. You got to use the same distances. Because some of you will look at the data and be like, "Oh, that's good or bad." You won't know unless you're using free lap. You're on a track surface and you went 5 to 15. Yeah, like 108's pretty freaking fast for a men's basketball player who's 18 years old. But those are some of our results, right? Started at 1.33 as a team. We went to 1.23 in like 7 weeks for acceleration capabilities. What else? We measured jump height. So these are things that athletes want to see on our basketball team. How quick can they drive by somebody? How fast are they? And can they bounce? Can they get up? If we improve those 2 things, the buy-in for the team is super high. And the third variable is actually size and weight. Okay, we're not talking about that today. That might get mixed in our conversation, but so standing vert, we're mid 26 inches, and then we're over 28 as a team. Even more impressive was movement into the vert, right? So like an approach, it wasn't a step close. They were able to take multiple steps into a vert. Okay, over 28 inch to start. And then and as a team, then averaged over 32, almost 33 inches. Okay, so that's actually significant there. And that's where we're starting to see like the game performance too. So same idea, we measured week 2, we measured week 8. Just so you know, there's context. I've been in junior college for 15 years plus now, and I've done testing every single year for 15 years with different teams. I've trained every single team there is in junior college at the Southern California level. Okay? These are the most significant results I've seen for 15 years on a consistent basis. Just so you know, that's why we're talking about this. Like, I've gotten a soccer player to improve tremendous. He ended up going on the track team for his speed. That was one dude. We've had like a basketball guy, same thing in the past, improve his vert 7-8 inches. That was one guy. We had, soccer girls that just their fitness went from boom to like they literally can outrun the entire state in soccer. That was one girl. This is an entire team. That's the point. Our system and method transfers over to the entire population of teams. So we want to go into the system here.
Yep.
Or the, hopefully you guys can kind of see this. I'll check when it's.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, do you want to just do your 2 days?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. So how we work here at junior college is I'm here all Tuesday, Thursday. Matt's here all Monday, Wednesday. So when you look at the screen here, I'm going to be focusing on what went on Tuesday and Thursday. So I'm actually going to go over Thursday first because in my opinion, with the results that we got, Thursday was the most important. Tuesday was a little more accessory. This was to kind of break up Monday and Wednesday, and we wanted to hit them hard with a lower body workout going into the weekend so they could recover, okay? So the biggest thing I did that had the most effect, again, this stuff was effective as well, but I think this is really where we got a lot of the data, is the mobility, knee correctives, squats, and adding weight in the right position, okay? So in a little bit here, we're gonna turn the camera around and show you some examples of what we did, but just know the biggest thing that I think I had results with was the vertical placement of the torso when you squat, getting them to bend their knees more. If you've ever seen a basketball player, their knee bend is pretty much non-existent when they show up to the gym. So yeah, very big adaptation from this day, in my opinion. They definitely had to pull their weight back from years past, right? Because most of their squats were, again, maybe getting a little ahead of myself here, we're way out of position, okay? So that's where kind of the bulk of the results came from my 2 days. Over here, we definitely did some good stuff as well. Vertical pulling to help with that upright posture as well. GHD movements to get some of the hamstring action. We do not use long lever hamstring action, so we'll get maybe a little more specific into that later. And then some of the landmine movements that you see from Landmine University kind of stuff, if you guys are familiar. You want to go over your stuff?
Yeah, sure. Make sure I'm in it. Okay, so.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, Monday was let me even take a step back. Monday and Wednesday, I used jammer variations that you see on my page or Coach Nick's page that we use on a regular basis. And the biggest thing was this. On our jammer type of variations, it's our power explosive movement for the day. So most of you who know me, I've gotten away from Olympic lifts now for a long time. We still do some other explosives, maybe some class 1 lever stuff like vertical jumping with a trap bar, things like that. But we're really getting into is some of the jammer variations that, again, you've seen where I get shin angle change, hip comes over the top, anchor the foot. I can get a coiling action, so I get ipsilateral action on the same side. We'll go underhand grip, boom. Okay, so we get a supination on the front. Those are all the things that we did on Monday and Wednesday. And we almost like repeated the same type of movements with the jammers on both days. That's what's so fascinating. We only sprinted them on Wednesday with me. 1 day a week. Okay, now part of the reason why their off season is heavily saturated in conditioning with their coaching staff. And that's one thing, that's fine. I mean, let's be honest again, the junior college athlete comes in relatively out of shape, relatively not as fit as they should be. Oh, you want to talk about that part?
No, I was just going to jump in with you too. You can keep going on with what you're going on with. But one of the things that I wanted to cover is just kind of, if you look at this split, right, you might wonder, like, why do we have certain movements on certain days? Again, we're in a junior college here, so we have a lot of awesome equipment, but how our weight room is oriented, we have to work things a certain way. I work with a lot of trisets, meaning 3 exercise supersets, just because of how the flow of the weight room works. So that's just one thing I wanted to make sure you guys are aware of. Like, the order of operations here may not be super traditional, and part of that is because we don't train super traditional, but also part of that is because of the logistics of the weight room that we're in.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why we're fortunate to have these jammer arms that flow out. So we do a lot of explosive power where there's translation and rotation. Okay, so we don't only, like, yeah, basketball needs to jump higher, and that's the crazy thing. We both did some jumping. So I did some jumping movements. We'll talk about some of the methods in a little bit here. Nick did some jumps as well.
I worked some in on this day. It's not actually in here, but I picked up some. It was more like, don't jump off the wrong position, right? Like, I didn't put any crazy explosiveness on this day because he hit them so hard on Monday. It was more like, let's try some things out right here on the back end of the workout, because you only see 3 things that we were kind of focusing on that day.
Yeah, I mean, these are the main themes for each day. Then we might sprinkle in some other correctives, exercises, accessories on those days. The last thing I want to hit before we kind of even sit down again or show you some ideas. So I said we only sprinted Wednesday. Okay. Beginning of the off season is 8 weeks, but we only started week number 2, and week 2 really consisted of speed testing. So the first couple of weeks, I did a variety of movements that I work on. You've seen them in all the drills that I post. So we did a lot of like get out in front, shin angle change, pick up the feet, so pick up and replace, those kind of actions. The last 3 or 4 weeks, all we did was this. I had their baseline times for acceleration. Again, we only sprint them 15 yards, and I only measure them from 5 to 15. Okay, so I had a number, I had a baseline. Say Nick's is 1.3, okay? So he's on the team. I have the data. We walk outside. I set up the gates. It's sort of like feed the cats, if you want to think of that in your head. If you know who that is and what that is, at least then you have context. It's sort of feed the cats-ish. So Nick's 1.3. I won't let him go down and lift that day until he hits 3 reps. One day it was only 2 reps because the guys were kind of smoked. One day we did 4 reps, so that's the context. 3 is the average. We did 3 reps where he had to hit about 1.3, and I was the judge of it. They had no idea. Like, and I would be like, you hit your score, there's 1 rep. When I'm saying he hit his score, he had to be like 1.2s to 1.35. On a lenient day, I let him go to like 1.38. So it's velocity-based training for you that use that type of methodology in the gym. It's the same thing on the track. Auto-regulation is what it's called. That's all we did on Wednesday. 3 reps. One of the days we did 2. So I didn't let them come downstairs until everybody on the team hit 3 solid reps. Most of the guys were like, oh my God, Coach Hank, this is stupid. Fine, I'm gonna go. Up, PR. PR, what the, okay. And then some guys were like, this is stupid, Coach. Oh, this is your 5th rep. You wanna go downstairs and lift today? Or do you wanna come up, you wanna stay up here and just run all day? Fine, let's go. Okay, they beat their score. We're downstairs, we're lifting the rest of our main list for that Wednesday. That's how we ran our speed program for the last like 3 to 4 weeks. The last week, then we ended up timing it. Literally the entire team almost PR'd. We had a couple guys that PR'd like the week before, but almost the entire team PR'd. And one of the biggest things is all I said to them on the track for Wednesday was things that we did in the weight room. Shin angle change, get out in front, pick your feet up. Those are like the only cues I used for them. We never used the word once. Push, attack, drive the knee forward. We never used any of those cues.
Super interesting as he said that, because I don't think we had like the full conversation of like the competitive aspect of some of this stuff. So like I was talking about how I worked in some jump variations on this day. It was really more landing variations, right? I picked up some stuff off a strength coach named Austin Yoakum about like gamifying your training a little bit. And the last few weeks I added in some stuff with med ball jumps, and you just saw the athletes kind of buy in just a little bit more because of their competitive aspect with it, right? I gave one of them the ball, one of them jumped over the box, then all of a sudden someone over there saw it. It was literally unstructured. Like this was the structure and we had more time. Someone else wanted the ball. It turned into like the whole team was doing jumps by the end of the workout, and we just carried it for the last couple of weeks of the training. And similar kind of thing, what he's doing out there, right? Like beat your time, compete with yourself, right? My day they were competing with each other, his day they were competing with themselves, right? So yeah, that's a big part of it too. Whatever we can get them to do to kind of get into that competitive aspect a little bit more as well.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about here in a few seconds about why I think it was so important the things we did in the weight room, because we only sprinted them on Wednesday and they didn't do any other speed work with their coaches. It was just fitness. It was aerobic based training almost. Intervals, things like that. Dudes were puking on the track, things like that.
Literally running mileage, like the most basic thing you can think of.
So the fact that we got the entire team to improve their speed, their acceleration capabilities, and their vert, the entire team, This is the first time really that I've seen an entire team at the junior college level. Not like, again, sprinkling in, and nobody got worse. That was the crazy thing. No one got worse. There's always also, at the junior college level, a couple athletes on a team who they kind of fall away because they don't show up to all the workouts, and they actually reduce their numbers or get worse at an aspect. It was crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
So let's get into, some of the methods. Go over some of the exact methods that we used. Okay, so how we incorporated it into our overall system of training for this men's basketball program in the off season. One thing I did want to highlight, 3 days a week, the men's basketball program, we're using bricks in part of their workout itself, now in a variety of different ways. So you've seen us use the bricks. You know that we get a lot of these ideas from Bball, so follow his page for some of the exact details. But we use the bricks really to create an anchor on our foot. So we would teach them and talk to them a little bit about arches of their feet to create stability, and then we would do things on the bricks, split stance or unilateral, and even in a bilateral position. And some of them would be ISO holds. One time we started to get to, am I good? We started to get to, again, we were doing ISO holds. This is a little narrow for me. Things we would teach. We don't want this heel to drop, so we really are trying to see like posterior tib, backside, soleus front side, or really just the whole lower leg. You'll start to see the musculature just pop out. From here we would, like I said, do things like holds, but we also then did drops. That was the other thing I wanted to mention, is that on my days, we always did an exercise or a drill that was a drop drill, a low to go drill, every single week. It was either Monday or Wednesday, depending on the phase that we were in. And we even did it on the bricks for one of them. They were in a split, and then they dropped, low to go drill, pull themselves down. And again, that is one of the reasons that they were so effective in the sprint testing, the performance testing, because we taught them how to load to go. Shorten the lever, load the system, you create the vertical, gives you the horizontal, makes the rotation easier. Okay, what else? We did, so hopefully that makes sense. We used the bricks. A lot of it's lower leg to foot training and really creating an anchoring point of our foot that we then use for things like the jammer. Okay, so again, 8 weeks of jammer variations where we got to a lot of this. Say it was banded. Most of the time it was always banded. Ipsilateral, supinated grip, coiled, shin drop, hip came out in front. Okay, so we're trying to launch ourselves forward, just like we did when we sprinted. So again, I would go to Wednesday's track session where we did sprints. They had to beat their times. And I would just say things like that, like, hey, you guys just came off of the jammers on Monday where you got shin angle drop, shin angle change, or shin drop, and your hip to explode out in front. Do the same thing on the starts. And it was that easy. In their head, they're like, okay, well, they've been doing this for how many weeks? Now they just had to connect it. And then I was like, hey, don't forget, we also had to get low on a lot of our drills. That was one of the other cues, okay, was get low on the sprint. Again, we talked about what? Shorten the lever, get the vertical, get to the horizontal. Anything else on the jammers you want me to cover?
I mean, I don't know if you use plates coming out in front, but that's one of the things we do to kind of just shorten up that step a little bit more, but that was the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, I mean, just again, go back and even follow some of our posts on Instagram to see the exact technique of how we do the jammers. I think the main idea is showing you that we are able to anchor and get out. We did some bilateral as well. I think most athletes feel comfortable just even in this position. If they're in a split lower body, bilateral upper, the punch, yeah, and then we started getting to supinated grips to be a little more specific on running. So a lot of this corresponded directly to sprinting. And that's where some of the conversations, or if you want to call it arguments, come into play of how much of this transfers. Well, my opinion is a lot of it transfers right now because we only sprinted these athletes once a week for 20 minutes. Every single athlete improved. Again, what they do with their coaching staff aerobic fitness and glycolytic work only. No sprint mechanics or anything like that. But all these elements, especially like on this day for me, I saw direct transfer. I saw the athletes being able to anchor their foot in the ground, shin angle change, get over the top. When I say things on the track to them, like, hey, let's get some shin drop. Hey, let's get out in front. Hey, let's get the foot off the ground. They knew exactly what I meant, and that helped as well. So there's a lot of carryover. When there's carryover like that, to me, I would label that as some type of transfer. And I would also label that as some type of correspondence from a drill to actual movement. And yeah, I'll let Coach Nick take over and talk about his 2 days, but that was my main thing I wanted to show you. We did brick work to anchor, and we did a lot of jammer work to teach the anchoring to be explosive.
Yeah, we go on the ramp. All right, guys, so the big bulk of what I did with the guys, shocking, I did a little more weightlifting, right? The biggest thing that I changed with basketball from past years to this year is verticalizing your squat, okay? So that vertical torso going out down into the squat position. If you guys are familiar with Pat Davidson, a lot of it comes from his program, and some of the other coaches like Zach Couples, again, shout out to those guys. But the big thing is trying to get yourself as tall as you can through the squat. So if you see right away, I just put myself on a ramp, right? Basketball, that was a big thing. Almost all the guys got onto a ramp in their warm-up and then had plates under their heels in their squat to get into that vertical position. Can you see me on here? Mm-hmm. So, again, this was the big thing. We started with like a week or two of goblet squats before we loaded them up even heavier. And the idea is chest tall, eyes on the horizon, going straight down. Right? Now, if you look at this, like how many basketball players do this? Not a lot. We got a lot of them past parallel. And I believe that was a big part of our success as well, in addition to some of this performance stuff. Because when I started having them jump, the positions started to match more, okay? So you saw me here, right? If I'm in that same position when I take off, right? We're gonna get more positive transfer, just like Matt was talking about, okay? So that position, trying to match my jump position, and then the GHD that you guys saw on the screen as well, trying to create almost the same position in there as well. So Matt, if we could turn that camera around. Mm-hmm. So again, this is what I was talking about, like not necessarily, can you see there? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily doing long lever training, the old school Nordics that you see on ESPN.
Or even further, they would go fully knee extended.
Well, I'm gonna break my hamstring.
Yeah, show this stuff. Sacrifice a hamstring to show people.
Yeah, because
even further, they go all the way down. They pop their knee.
Oh, you're talking about that one. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
That one.
And then they just yank it up. And,
yeah, I thought you were talking about like Nordic. I'm like, I'm gonna rip my hamstring off. So we don't do that, and we also don't do Nordics. We do this, okay? Try to match that torso position. Try to get that knee flexion from the start. Hollow the stomach, and then go from there. So we're getting a little outside of that lever, but then we're pulling it back, rather than just continue to crank on the hamstrings and low back, essentially. So that was just 3 movements from my side of the program that I think worked extremely well with men's basketball specifically. There were a lot of more intricate details that were inside of it, but that's all we're going to kind of give you guys for today. Matt, you want to close it off with anything?
Yeah, no, I would just say, again, the take-home message is that the results are becoming so consistent with the methodologies that we're using. Where in the past, it was always sampling an idea, it would have success, medium, no success for the team. Now it's across the board, success, success, success. Even individually with athletes I train one-on-one outside of the college, and Nick himself outside of the college, it's just becoming very easy to get results when you have a system in place that has a lot of transfer and correspondence. Okay? We're not talking about the word like sport specific. We're not using that term. We're just talking about targeting mechanisms that they can then use on the field or court. And that's what we did this fall really well with our men's basketball team. And did they get stronger? Yes. But was that our end goal? No. Our end goal was to master some of these mechanical, technical movement patterns. Thus, they were able to get in positions better. Thus, they were able to produce force better, or the rate of force development was expressed higher. Okay? So, hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll try to do this maybe at the end of each semester, highlight one of our teams, especially a team that we work on together. That's why this was so perfect, because we both work with men's basketball. It's 4 days a week, and we work on different qualities within the week. Okay, so some of the traditional periodization a little bit went out the door because it's not so traditional. I go 2 days, he goes 2 days. Our setup here is a little different. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed. Reach out, ask us questions if you have any, and look for the next video presentation that we're going to put for you.